What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Come on in. Have a seat. Episode 244 of the White Cat Outdoors podcast. Bring you to the table while we talk about the outdoors. We are just chomping at the bit for opening day, and we just couldn't help it but talk about early season tactics and just kind of really get us all juiced up, ready to hunt. We've got some really impressive deer to chase this year here in Pennsylvania, and it's got us all really excited. And we're just, kind of strategizing a little bit, laying out game plans for opening day and that first couple weeks of October. It was a really fun episode to shoot for us. And, excitement's high, blood's flowing, and season's almost here. So we hope you guys are just as excited as we are to get out in the deer woods. But I'm going to quit rambling, and let's get tuned in to this week's episode.
And then I looked dead at his antlers. I got out of the truck, and when I slammed the door, I heard gobbles all around me.
Let's see it.
Alaska, moose, spot and sock. That is the bucket list. I agree.
White Cat Outdoors. White Cat Outdoors.
What's up, gang? Wow, I feel like I'm really loud. Am I?
No, you're sounding good.
All right, I love it. Sorry, Nick just had me all off on a tangent. We were talking when the intro was playing. I don't even know what we're doing tonight. We're talking early season. Nick and Tom are both here.
Tom, it's glad to have you in the studio.
Glad to be in the studio. It's going to be one of the not the last, but one of the last episodes in my studio.
Yeah, I guess we can, we'll just tease it. Some things are changing.
Hard drop it.
No. Few things are changing. We have, seems like, another move of studios, but I feel like in the near future we're going to be settling in.
Yeah, it'll be permanent studio.
Yeah,
legit.
So, but bear with us. We've got, I don't think it's pretty cool to see just like the progression and the bouncing around we've done over the years, and continued to keep at it while people change housing locations and everything, trying to set up mock studios, but we continue to do it year after year. Speaking of, we're approaching 5 years.
Yeah, we are.
Which
it's a big milestone. In January, we'll have to do a pretty serious episode about the 5-year.
I've been hinting for years that we should do a 24-hour episode, and maybe the 5-year mark is it. I don't know. It would be nuts. I think we'd all have to start using cocaine.
Yeah. I don't know who the hell would listen to a 24
Probably
hour.
Nobody.
that one's just for us.
Yeah.
We could catch bits and pieces.
Yeah.
We'll do a live, 24 hours live.
That would be insane.
Have people call in. It
could be
real dicey later on.
Like a marathon where we just like a relay for life kind of thing. I don't know. Is that a local thing or is that like a nationwide thing?
It's a nationwide thing.
But yeah,
where
we just
call-a-thons.
But we just do like a podcast-thon or something where we just we'll each have like a 2-hour window and then you just like keep rotating through.
No, everyone
for 24 straight hours.
Yeah. I think if we can keep Austin supplied with Twisted Teas.
Oh, he'll sit there for 4 days.
Yeah, I think keep that one on the back burner. We'll see. But I guess for our listeners, if you've got an idea for a 5-year celebration, give us some ideas what you're thinking. And who knows, maybe we'll select your idea for.
If we're doing 24 hours, we're gonna select probably about 10 ideas. Yeah,
that could get wild. But either way, we're super excited that milestone's coming. I follow a lot of different podcasts, and very few seem to make it 5 years.
Very few make it a year.
Yeah. And so I'm pretty proud of myself and you guys and our listeners for tuning in every single week for the last 5 years. Like, I don't know, it's crazy to think that there's people out there that want to tune in that much, and we can't thank you guys enough for that. So,
Yeah.
that's my little rant for the beginning before we jump into today's episode.
A little housekeeping, if you will.
Yeah, sweep the floor.
Yeah,
we haven't
you
done
haven't
that.
said that in a while.
Yeah, we haven't done any. Tom likes to say I come up with words that I just like to use a lot for a little while, and then I get rid of them. But maybe I'll have to bring housekeeping back.
Yeah. That could be just how we start every episode, housekeeping. From now on, that's how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
No.
Tom says no.
Tom's not on board.
Well, yeah, we'll think about it.
We'll
But
holster that.
early season tactics. Tom, I know that you've been doing quite a bit of prep this year. You've definitely been pulling a heavy weight behind you. Like with the rest of us, you've been putting a lot of hours in prepping for this season. And so I want to talk to you with all of everything you've done. You've been very diligent checking trail cameras this year, and got some bucks to be excited about. But let's dive into you specifically, early season strategy to make all this work pay off. What's on your mind?
Early season, my mind's on food. I think how our archery setup or our archery season is set up, you can still catch a few weeks of their food to bedding to food pattern, and it seems like around October 20th things start to get a little ruddy. I would call,
if you had to put a hard date out there, yeah, I mean, because obviously weather has a lot to do with it, but I think you're right. Somewhere just past the peak of mid-October.
Yeah, that's when you really start to feel.
yeah, I would say,
I like the term bucky. Like it's
I don't
starting to,
like that.
starting to feel bucky,
I do like that. I don't think I've ever heard it, but
You've never heard that? Like it's feeling bucky in the woods?
yeah, I've never got the. I know exactly what the feeling is.
And the smell?
Yeah,
You just
can't
never
d-
described
You
it
can't
like that.
deny that smell. Like
Oh,
you
you
get
can
past
smell a
mid-October,
rutting buck.
you guys have never, like this feels bucky. You guys have never,
No.
maybe that's just my internal monologue, but I felt like I've had that for years.
I mean, I think that without that word.
Well, maybe that's,
you're gonna start.
Yeah, now
that
it's
word.
going to be in my mind every time I walk in the woods. I'm going to be like, oh, man, it's pretty bucky. And then I'm going to get pissed at myself for saying something so stupid.
But I would call early. We're talking about early archery season tonight.
Yeah.
yeah, early season. Yeah.
Early
2
season.
weeks.
I would say.
Or unless you have tactics for preseason to, get one on the ground early.
Yeah. But I would say from opening day until October
20th.
20th. Yeah, that's
You literally just said that was your day.
that's
So that's your early
That's-
season
that's
window.
my early season. And I have a strategy that has, I don't want to say worked out, but could have potentially worked out for the past 3 years in a row.
That strategy felt real bucky.
Yeah. Well, 3 years ago, the strategy worked. The buck came right into place, and I shot and never recovered him. 2 years ago, the biggest buck on the farm came right in, but it was a buck I didn't want to shoot. He had a beautiful one side, 4 on one side, and then just a big spike on the other side. And up until the rut, that was the only mature deer we were getting on camera. And then last year, I didn't get a mature buck on camera until the rut.
Last year was a really slow year for like good bucks on our piece especially that you hunt a lot of. It was just we had a pile of those just like 15, 16 inch wide 8s, but nothing that was like, oh, good buck.
Yeah.
Just a lot of that. I mean, they're still fun to shoot. Don't get me wrong. But it wasn't at that level where you're like, oh, this one
I'm
stands
focusing
out.
on that one.
Yeah. Or this one stands out among the rest.
But this year, like Nick said, last year we had a bunch of those 15, 16 inch wide 8s. I think a lot of those guys made it through because this year I have 4 bucks to this day showing up regularly in daylight hours that I would be more than happy to throw an arrow at.
I think at least 3 of them would probably be your best deer.
4 for 4 would be.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
I seen one in there that I would definitely knock my number 1 off. 2 would be a close one, but there's one on there that I've seen that was like
mid 130s.
I don't.
Upper 120s.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think, and I don't really give a shit about net, but gross wise, I think he's high 120s. Maybe, if Velvet's tough. Everybody knows Velvet's tough. They inflate him a little bit, but you can tell the difference between, A and B, like what potential's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a lot more promising year for us, and definitely more exciting going into opening day.
We don't have like an absolute giant this year, but like I said, there's 4 bucks showing up regularly that all 4 of them I would be happy to throw an arrow at, and I think early archery season might be my best bet at one of these 4 bucks, because once it starts to get bucky, they're going to be
Love it.
moving. Because right now, they're coming to a food plot, and every single time they're coming, I get my first picture, and they're facing the same direction. So I know right where they're coming from. It's a big bedding area, and they're coming out into this half-acre clover food plot, and it's kind of like a staging area, because so where the deer are coming from, they're coming from my west, and then they're coming from the west to the east into my food plot, and then further to the east it opens up into a giant bean field. So I think they're coming out of bedding.
I feel like I'm there now.
They're staging in this clover food plot before it gets dark, and then they go out into the big beans that you can see from the road. So my plan, and I've done it before and it's worked, I just screwed up the shot, is I leave this stand alone. I don't go there until you get your first temp drop in October. Sometimes it might be opening day, but I like to see 10 degrees from day A to day B. And I don't know, for whatever reason, when you get that north wind and it brings that temp drop in, it's like those bucks get up on their feet a little bit earlier on that first cold day, and I think that's my best opportunity to kill one of these 4. And if 4 are showing up regularly on that first cold day, one of them's bound to show up. One of the 4. I don't care which one.
They're getting an arrow.
Yeah. Any of the 4 could show up, but and that's always kind of been, I've always hunted food. I've always kind of hunted perimeter type stuff early archery season. I've never been one to dive into the heart of the property, get into the thickest, nastiest bedding on day 1. I don't know.
It seems like your chance for screwing things up are too high. Like the risk is not high, or the risk is too high for the reward on the first day. Because like year after year, with the way that you do your hunting early season, you're almost at 100% opportunity.
Yeah.
Whether it's a buck that you didn't realize had that weak side or whatever, or you've connected on many on this, but it seems like your opportunity at one of these deer is pretty probable in years prior using this strategy.
Yeah. So I kind of if it not broke, don't fix it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I know I have talked to people that they love getting into the bedding day 1, but the way I look at it is you got an entire archery season. I'm going to do as minimal damage. By damage, I mean pressure.
Yeah. Because even if you're walking into your property smart and, with the wind in your face and doing everything right, you can't avoid the amount of scent that you're putting on the ground walking into that bedding. And even if it's a day or 2 later, deer are going to know that you were in there. So yeah, you might get lucky and you connect that first time and it works out. But if it doesn't, now your scent's in there. And I don't know, it just and it might be different if you're hunting public ground where you don't have food plots, and it's really situational. But when you have a piece of property that you can control a little bit, and you have the opportunity to hunt the outskirts and hunt the food, I think that's a smart play early in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my plan. It's worked before. I hope it works again. If it works this year, it will be on my best buck if any one of these 4 show up. So I'm excited.
Hope it happens.
I hope so too. I don't think, now it's September 5th. I don't think I'm going to go back and check cameras between now and opening day. I like to give a month's rest where there's absolutely no human scent in that area. Give them enough time to settle down.
So the next time you go in that area is going to be with that 10-degree drop is what you're getting at?
Yep.
Maybe I'll go try it out opening day.
It's not a bad plan.
Yeah. And that is something, this is something I've never done before, is waiting for that 10-degree drop. I've always hunted it opening evening. I've always done that. But I've never seen a good buck opening evening. It's always just a bunch of does and it's 70 degrees, and I'm not going to shoot a doe when it's 70 degrees because...
Who wants to do that?
Yeah. Let's be real. I truly think my best opportunity is wait until that perfect condition and go in.
Yeah. No, tough to argue with that. Early season for me, in more recent years, I've started to play that game more with Tom, mainly because we hunt a lot of the same property. There's multiple guys that we hunt with, and I used to be a lot more aggressive, not necessarily going into a bedding area, but I would have no problem diving in to the timber. But a lot of that was because, like, being in college, I didn't have nearly the amount of time, so I had to just get a little bit more aggressive and jump right in, and it worked out for me many times. But now that I have more time and wanting to respect the other people using the property, it's smarter to play that game. And we like Tom said, we've got some really good deer this year. And another piece that I hunt, I have another really, really good buck that would definitely knock anything out of the water that I've ever killed. And plan with that is similar to Tom's. I'm just going to, hunt the outskirts and just kind of observe. I've got a few stands that allow you to see a large area, and you may not be able to get a deer in bow range, but I can see multiple fields at the same time being in hedgerows. And I think that that's a smart play early on to try and get an idea for, a move in on something. Because I feel like I've burned myself trying to get in, like, right into the stuff opening day and getting your scent all over the place, and it just, I don't know, doesn't work out.
I think once the wood starts to get bucky...
I love this.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
I don't want to say I don't pay attention to the wind, but I am a lot less particular about how I'm accessing the stand and the wind direction. If there's like a marginal wind, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna. Where early season, it's like it's got to be perfect, but come later in the season, if it's marginal, I've had hunts where I've had bucks come from every single direction. Bucks are showing up that you never once got on camera. You could go in there in middle of the rut and, a buck wins you and you're like, oh, this spot's blown up. Well, the next day there could be a buck that came from 4 miles that had never stepped foot on your property, but he's chasing a hot doe and he just comes right through you.
You're out of early season now, though.
Yeah. But I was just saying, I don't.
If we were talking,
contrasting.
if we were talking about that time, this is what I would say.
No, I was just saying I don't want to paint the picture that I'm always this like very reserved, don't want to go deep in. I say
Tom goes deep.
Yeah,
is what he's getting at.
Yeah, I'll hit the bedding area. Don't get me wrong, but I think you can screw up during the rut and have a completely different hunt the very next day with
absolutely
different bucks.
Yeah, I feel you there. But early season, if
early season, if there's marginal wind, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna. We're early season, it's like it's got to be perfect.
I feel you there.
But early season, if, 'cause, I mean, you know, I just you are walking in and your target buck wins you, well, that spot kind of can be very difficult to kill him out of that spot again.
Yeah. Now, Frank, I know your property is.
I'm about to flip you guys on your ear right now.
Yeah, because like a little prelude to that is your hunting property, and we've talked about it on the podcast. If you've been listening for a while, that your ground that you hunt has drastically changed.
Mm-hmm.
So for people that maybe are new to the podcast, give them just a little snippet of what you're dealing with, because it's not even close to what Tom and I deal with.
Yeah, and in previous years, I've always done exactly what you guys are talking about. There's big fields, there's hedgerows, there's 3 big fields. The biggest field's like 18 acres, then there's a 9-acre field and a 5-acre field. I would always hunt hedgerows between those fields, and I had a lot of opportunities, and I was successful several times, but it was all hardwoods, open timber. There was hemlocks and stuff, but there was no bedding area on this piece.
Mm-hmm.
It was all hemlocks and hardwoods. So I did exactly what you guys were saying. My tactic was hunt the edges, hunt the fields, hunt those hedgerows, maybe tickle just a little bit on the edge of the woods to catch them when they're going in their staging areas. But it's a lot different now because, was it 3 or 4 years ago?
I think it was 3.
3 years ago, my piece got very heavily logged.
This will be your 3rd season hunting
Mm-hmm.
since then.
Yeah, so very, very heavily logged. It's just off a clear cut. There's a few trees left, and now all the saplings are starting to grow. There's so much undergrowth. There's berries everywhere. It's difficult to get through. It is very, very difficult to get through. And then last year, the one piece, it's a 200-acre piece that borders my 200-acre piece, got completely clear cut. So now there's just huge tops piles everywhere. There's some undergrowth coming up, ferns and small stuff. So a huge chunk of property, over 400 acres,
just
decimated, completely changed. So it has been a nonstop learning experience the last 3 years. And
I mean, you can't take a 200-acre piece. You can't expect to learn 200 acres in a season.
No. And when it's changing that much year to year with that stuff growing up, what it was last year is not what it is this year.
Yeah.
It's completely different. And my tactics last year are going to be very different than my tactics this year, and the year before that. And
you have to do a lot of adapting as the years go by and the property changes, because with new growth, it's fast growth and it's ever changing quickly.
Yeah, so that's what I've been having to deal with the past couple years, and I've still kind of done that same style fringe hunting, but gone a little bit further in. This year, I'm pretty much diving in. I'm going way in. There's a couple big logging roads that go through that are easy access to stuff to get deep into the property without making a ton of noise and fighting through all the shit. So I found a couple of spots on opposite sides of the property. So I'm going to get really aggressive and go way deep into the bedding. But
it's all bedding. Almost.
It's 100% bedding. This entire property is now bedding, other than the fields.
Yeah.
But all the way up to the edge of the field, there is no staging areas anymore. It is nasty, shitty tops, undergrowth, everything until you hit the edge of the field. So you're either hunting the field or you're way into the bedding. And it's nice in that aspect because, like you said, it's a lot easier to screw up a hunt for a couple days early in the season. But it's nice because it's so big that I can screw up this spot and I can go 500 yards away and have another great hunt and keep moving around to these 4 spots. I've found 4 really good spots that I'm very confident with that I can hunt different winds on. And I'm kind of pressed for time. I wouldn't say I'm pressed for time, but I'm going on that mule deer hunt at the end of October, beginning of November. So I am going to lose a week of very prime hunting in the rut.
But it's for a mule deer.
Yeah, it's for a good reason. But yeah, I'm interested to see how well this is going to go, and it's going to be a big learning experience because I've hunted that style before, but not this early in the year before. You know, I love hunting in swamps and bedding. I've always been big in swamps and bedding, but not this early. So it's going to be interesting playing with that this year. And I feel like I have a very good plan together to make it work. What's going to be the toughest thing is that it is so big and it's all bedding, being in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah. What's interesting about that piece, that like, I never knew anybody or experienced such a drastic change in a property so fast. But what's interesting is the fact that you've got bucks that never left. Like, even with all of the habitat change, these deer never left. They're still, like, you have, history with these deer that were there before the clear cut, during the clear cut, and now after the clear cut 2 years later. There's, big mature deer that you've seen through this whole progression.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like this clear cut ruined your property in terms of, quality of deer or anything like that. Like, all of the deer that you were seeing there are still there, but the way that you have to approach that hunt has completely changed.
Yeah.
So like, just like the deer are adapting to this, you also have to do the same.
And honestly, hunting it so much before the clear cut, because I've hunted this property for years. I've been hunting it for 15 years now.
Pretty much since you've had a bow in your hand, this is a property you've hunted.
Yeah. Their patterns really haven't changed much. Core areas that were great travel areas before, deep in the property, are still very much the core travel areas, even though it's changed so drastically what's going on around it. There's a couple patches of hemlock. There's the one side of the property used to be nothing but hemlocks, and the other side was all hardwood with like 2 little patches of hemlocks. That was such a huge traffic area by those 2 small patches of hemlocks. And when I say small patches, I mean like 5 trees. Deer crossed through those 5 trees all the time. And I know where they are. They're not there anymore.
But you know where they were.
I know where they were. I still frequent those areas and check them out and put cameras there. That is still one of the most high traffic areas on that property.
I wonder if that has to do with the terrain. If there's some terrain change.
Where those hemlocks are, it's not far from. There's a little bit of a depression where there's a small creek, and it doesn't really. All the water's dried up out of it now, but there used to be apples down in that little depression by that creek, and then right when you come up out, there's those couple patches of hemlocks, and it wasn't far from the one property line, which was a pretty hard change in the woods.
See, I think that I'm trying to make a parallel here. In a property that Tom and I hunt up in New York State, there's like old fence rows, and like when I say old, I mean to the point there's not a fence. There's not a fence there anymore, but deer still travel as if there was the fence line there.
And that's how this piece is, like near where those hemlocks are at, when you come up out that property line. Now that it's logged and you can really see everything, there's like huge rock piles, and the only way those rock piles get there are from farmers picking rocks in fields.
Yeah.
They get there. That's why there's those concentrations of rocks. This was mature woods, all 80-year-old trees. At one point, it was a field where farmers were throwing rocks right here.
Yeah.
And that was a hard travel area. It's going to be a field again now, but throughout that whole process of that timber growing up and being cut back down, the deer have never stopped running on that fence row.
Yeah, and it's interesting that even a property can change that much. And like the fence line I'm talking about, there's literally like you can see a hard line. Like there's a trail that we have that's cut through there, and you're walking through like just thick, mature growth. And then all of a sudden you hit a line and it's a lot of young growth. And it's just like you can tell it's younger trees. They're not mature. And there's, a hard just mud that they're running right along that line. And it hasn't been a field for probably 30 years. but they're still running that same line. And it's just interesting that even though the layout, like the trees and the timber and everything has changed drastically, they're still running it as if it was there. So it's neat to see that even on a clear cut, that they're still going to utilize that property in a similar manner.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, if they were to hunting a piece like you, they come in and log it, they might write it off and say, you
I know
know,
a lot of people get pissed when their property or properties that they hunt, not their property, but properties that they hunt get logged. They're like, oh, fuck, now what am I going to do?
Yeah, I got to go find a new piece. But from your time in the woods and stuff, you're saying, no, they're doing the same thing. I just have to hunt them a little different.
Yeah, you're, especially with that heavy of a logging, you can't get to those places quick and quiet anymore. It used to just be a straight shot. You know, it was
And the number of
easy
trees you can put a stand in are drastically
almost
affected.
none.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of ground hunting probably.
Yeah, and the places that I've picked out, I do have trees I can get in. So I have that going for me, but it's so different. Even though the deer are doing almost the same thing, the way you have to access that and when you have to access it is so different because of
the path
how
that you used to take
isn't there anymore. It's
Yeah.
now that is just a shitty, nasty mess of briars that you can't walk through without blowing out 500 yards worth of you're not being quiet and getting in there. So I've had to take my knowledge of how they use the property that I've had for years, and they're still doing it, and now I'm having to relearn how to hunt that same spot. Because I'm hunting the same spots. It's just hunting them so different.
It's interesting to see how quickly it's changed and how you're adapting to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's different, but it's still hunting.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Pennsylvania so cool is that there's huge differences. Like, you know, the property that you're talking about and the property that Tom and I are referencing, we're, almost a stone's throw away from each other.
Yeah,
and
a couple miles.
And we're drastically different tactics to hunt deer.
Yeah.
It's neat that there's that kind of
diversity.
Yeah, diversity was the word I was looking for here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so I'm definitely very excited to see how this year plays out with jumping way into the property right away.
I'm hoping giant buck.
Well, there's always giants on that property. Every year we have 150-inch deer every year.
Which is, we're talking PA here. That's a good deer anywhere.
Yeah.
But to consistently have something like that in Pennsylvania, that's a special piece.
Yeah, and we haven't had any on camera this year. I know there was I didn't see it. I talked to a guy that I trust his judgment of bucks very well. He saw one that he said it was a 150 last year, and to my knowledge, that deer is still alive. We haven't gotten it on camera. There have been no confirmed sightings of it this year, but he saw it after muzzleloader season last year.
A deer like that size.
And we had a very mild winter.
Yeah.
It seems a property like that, though, has got to be extremely difficult to monitor with trail camera.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and even with how much it's changed, the locations that you can put a camera probably have changed. Like, the tree that you used to put a camera on for 15 years might not even be there anymore. So now you're trying to...
Well, now where I would put that camera, you can't see 10 feet. I sent you guys a Snapchat of where I was walking the other day. That used to be a very open area.
Yeah.
You literally couldn't see 10 feet. My dog was 5 feet in front of me, and she was already getting kind of broken up with all the shit that was there.
Yeah, so it's tough to really say, oh, we're not getting them on camera. They're not here. It's like, well, they're here. It's just... I can only see 10 feet in front of me.
Yeah.
It's
just a matter of spending the time there and I have 9 cameras there. There's a couple other people that hunt the property that have a few cameras out. And we've gotten nice bucks. We've gotten a couple that are flirting with the 120 mark, but we haven't gotten a giant yet. But I know every year there's giants.
They're in there.
And now they have a lot more reason to stay there with how thick it's getting. Because before, they bailed out of that property pretty quick. And I'm hoping that with all that bedding there, they're going to stay longer in the season. But you never know. We'll see how it happens.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
It's gonna be
also can't wait. I'm very excited about this season.
Yeah, I probably say this every year, but something just feels different this year. I don't know what it is, but within our crew, something big is going down. And consistently, we within our group, we usually somebody's going to put something good down. I think something about this year just feels special.
Feels Bucky, doesn't it?
Very, very Bucky. Something tells me that this year somebody's putting down their best buck of their life, and it just
Of their life, like
Ever?
no,
or,
like
this
to this
year?
point so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to drop a 200 this year and call it a life.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I shot a 200, I'd probably see how far I could throw my bow. like if I'd have to watch it tip over, obviously.
Then just snap that thing on a tree.
Yeah, I would. I mean, stand pots like it was a rattling bag right up against the side of the tree. Just it's over.
Just because.
Yeah, I don't even know what I would do.
It'd be wild. I'll let you know what I do when I pull it off this year.
Be wild with a recurve.
That would be.
I mean, you has a 200 ever been killed with a recurve?
Probably. I don't know. Though.
You guys want to know something wild?
I'd love to.
So, are you guys familiar with the Pennsylvania state record non-typical?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it used to hang at Erie Sports Store.
Yeah, now it's at Field and Stream or Sportsman's Warehouse.
Oh, is it?
Whatever it was called. Do you guys know where that was killed?
Crawford County?
Nope.
Erie County?
Yep.
Really? It was killed in Erie?
Yep.
Well, not in Erie, but Erie County.
Yep, in Albion.
Really?
In Jumbo Woods.
I didn't know that.
Jumbo Woods, that was killed.
Yep.
That was killed in, what, the 70s?
Well, we probably shouldn't have just, like, announced
Well, it was 50 years ago.
that. And yeah, that buck's dead. But none of us hunt Jumbo. Well, one of us hunts Jumbo Woods, but not at the table.
I just read an article on it today. I'm like, no shit.
Huh, I didn't know that. I knew it
is
was
that
close,
why-
but I didn't know it was in Albion.
Is that why they call it Jumbo Woods?
No, it was called Jumbo Woods before that.
Oh. Because, I mean, it would be a good idea to call it Jumbo Woods after a jumbo buck got killed.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you know what it scores, by chance, off the hand?
I know it had 38 scorable
I want to
points.
say it was in the 230s or 250s.
I don't think it was quite 250.
I think it was 230s then.
Yeah.
Hell of a buck.
234 is ringing a bell for some reason.
That sounds about right.
All right.
It's a giant.
Just hypothetical here,
I'd shoot it.
probably. But this is going to be an either-or kind of thing. Would you rather shoot a net, clean, 180 typical, or like a 220 non-typical?
220
220
non-typical all day. Not even throw that other one in the trash.
But
Don't
if it
want
was a
anything to do.
180 non-typical or a 180 typical, I'm shooting the
I'm
typical.
shooting the
Well,
typical. at that.
I knew the answer there. That's why I was...
Yeah, but a 220 non-typical,
In
that's
game,
that's me.
game of inches here. What's the spread where it would be tough to decide? Because, both 180, you're going for the typical. But if there's 40 inches of difference, you're going
I
non-typical.
suppose it depends what it looks like, really.
And it depends on the inches. Like, if there was a 202-inch non-typical and a 195-inch typical, I'm probably shooting the 200 just
say you
it's a
got 200. I mean, I don't think you're telling the difference between two.
I can,
Tom would be like, boop, 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 boop. Like,
That's
and no-
202 right there.
Yeah, I can tell within 2/8, and I say 2/8 because that's how they score whitetail.
Yeah.
Always an 8.
See, my thing, if
They'd
I
have
had,
to be standing side by side for me.
if I
If I ever had the situation where I had those two bucks standing side by side,
I'd be looking for the fence.
yeah, really.
But it's just, I don't know, it's always fun to think about. Like for me, like if I had an opportunity at like a 205-inch typical, there's not many non-typicals that I would pass to have an opportunity for a typical 200. Like I would kill a 205 typical over a 240 non-typical all day, just because the chance. I mean,
It is a
both of
lot
them-
more impressive of a buck as far looking at.
and not that either one of those is a likely scenario. Like we're talking, obviously fairy tales here, but just the chances of a typical to break 200,
Yeah,
to me, just outweighs.
yeah, but I like trash. I'm all about trash.
I like a little bit of trash.
I like it all.
A little bit of faded tramp stamp trash, but not like full, tight leather pants and
No, that's me right there.
Marlboros. You know what I mean? Like I like a little bit of junk that still looks classy. Like, I'm a big fan of like little bits of stickers, maybe a drop tine, but those bucks that just look like an explosion of points on their
That's
head.
what I like. I love that.
I mean, not that I wouldn't shoot it. Love to shoot it. But if I'm comparing like where...
I just want it to look like flames shooting off the top of his head. That's what I want.
So like that, they called Mufasa.
Yeah.
It's like a beautiful buck. And like that one's even, because it's got like a typical
Frame.
cage.
Yeah, and then everything just comes off of it.
Yeah. But there's certain bucks that just like, to me, look ugly. Not that I wouldn't shoot them, but I don't know. There's something about like matching split G2s and a drop tine that's just like, just the right
Symmetry's cool, but
just the right amount of trash.
nah. I like them on the trashy side.
Tom, where are you like when it comes to typicals versus trash? How much trash is too much trash?
There's no such thing. Is too much trash. I do prefer a big, clean typical,
Nah, boo.
but
Oh, it's just
I
you're
won't
so
discriminate.
impressive.
I will not.
Yeah, I'm not here sitting like with my eyeglass saying that, you know,
I'm too good for that.
yeah, I'm better than that. No, but like if I could, you know, like say my perfect, like if I like could create the perfect buck for me, it would be a very clean, symmetrical deer with just a little bit of junk, little bit.
Maybe like a forked brow or a
Yeah,
kicker
split
off the
brow,
G2.
like real gnarly bases, like with
I do
lots
like
of
the real
like
gnarly
really
bases.
like almost like where you feel like it looks like a pricker bush down by the base. Love that look. Love when there's just a lot of trash
You know
right
what
around the brow tines. Jesus.
My favorite bit of junk is the point that comes straight out, like off the bottom, like right above the pedicle, below the brow tine. Not a split brow, but when there's a sticker
right at the
coming
base.
off the base. Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
That is a good
That'll
look.
do it.
Man, I just want to get out in the woods right now.
I know we still got 3 weeks before we can get out there.
I feel like my blood pressure rising right now
I
just
know, right?
talking.
Do
about
we
this.
start end of September?
No, October 5th.
Yeah, it's October 1st is like I think a Wednesday, and they opted to go a week late. Which at first I was like, don't like that, but Tom brought up a good point. Gives us a few extra days in November.
Yeah, they tacked it on to the end.
I'd rather have them at the beginning.
No.
I mean, my statistics, like with my success, I still have yet to kill a buck with my bow outside of October. I've killed them in September and October. I've never killed a buck in November with my bow. Had a couple opportunities last year, and I watched too much Whitetail Adrenaline, I think. Just leave it at that. We talked about it last year. It is what it is. But yeah, I'm just so jacked up for deer season.
Yeah, I'm
And
excited.
It's all I can think about right now. Tom, anything? You look like you got something.
No, I won't say it.
All right. I'm not going to say it. I guess we'll close it out there. It is, I mean, we're dangerously close to season. I know some people are already out there hunting. Good on you. But you guys all know what to do. Get outside.